Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. There's a link in the description below. I'm going to make a very realistic, very sobering prediction for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. I mean this completely honestly. There's not a lot of Bitcoin left. Boom, boom, because you see I say it all the time. The issue is that there's actually not. And I think I've missed something quite pivotal that's only going to make it even worse than it already is. Not only are rich people buying up as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. You know how I talk about the future and extrapolating and, thinking about, personally, I say, thinking about the price, where the price is going to go, where the market's going to move, those kinds of things. I forgot about the halving. I didn't, but I also did, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. When you think about the actual Bitcoin market, when I think about the Bitcoin market, and I think about how much Bitcoin there isn't, I kind of have a very firm grasp or number in my head, but I'm not anticipating what's going to be made in the future. That make any sense? So I'm looking at the right now. I know that there will be halvings, but I'm not really counting them in or tying them in at all to everything that's currently taking place. For those of you, for some reason, who've been living under a digital rock and you managed to miss the last 60 days in this market, at the time of me making this video, it looks like in January, we're not talking about other time frames. In January, we just got news that 20 different states within the United States are working on accumulating Bitcoin. That's insane. MicroStrategy is on this really big run trying to buy up as much Bitcoin as they really possibly humanly can before basically the entirety of the US does. That's the US and all the individual states also in there as well. We just got news also recently, if you missed one of the other videos, the amount of Bitcoin being accumulated by the ETFs is staggering. It's not like a little staggering. It's like, oh, snaps. We need to do something right now because the rich people are actually buying up all the Bitcoin. But there's another really weird metric that I've never even thought of. And I've mentioned some of it before, and it kind of goes like this. So we know that when Bitcoin first started out, the amount of Bitcoin that was created per block was 50 Bitcoin. In 4 years, the halving happened. That got turned to 25. That turned to 12.5. That turned to 6.25. And I think we're currently at 3.2 or 3.1. It's something 3E. Got it. In the year 2028, there will be another halving. Surprise! And that will lower it down to, I believe, 1.56. I think that's the number. It's definitely something like that. But then something insane happens. And this is why I think we're seeing all of this happening right now. It's a literal mad rush before we get to 2032. Remember I told you Plan B and all these other people, their charts, when they talk about the year 2032, they all of them show Bitcoin at above $10 million a coin. That's because when that halving happens, the amount of Bitcoin that comes out of the machine that gets created in the block and stuff like that is less than an entire Bitcoin. So in about a good, 20 something years? Less than around, anyway. We go from 50 to 25 to 12 to 6 to 3 to 1 something to, I believe, 0.75 Bitcoin that actually comes out. Bitcoin is already scarce at these levels where we are right now. We're already talking about on crypto exchanges, there's barely anything left. A lot of what's on crypto exchanges is not liquid. We're talking about countries announcing soon in the next 3 months that they're buying Bitcoin. We're talking about this month that apparently over a dozen states in the United States are going to announce that they're also buying Bitcoin. These accumulation levels cannot be sustained. They're not buying an ever-increasing, printed asset, something like the US dollar, because there's less and less of it created all the time. I know this sounds simple, but really focus on exactly what I'm saying. The rarer it gets, the less likely people are to sell it. It's already extremely rare, and we see now that rich people are buying up as much as they can with no intention of selling it. The only people who are selling it are the people who don't get this kind of news and information every single day. A lot of people get into the market, they want to leave very quick, and then they wonder why in 8 years Bitcoin's at $7.5 million and they don't have any. That kind of thing. There's a guy online, he went through the numbers, and when you hear this, you're going to go, holy crap, because this means that this company is already outpacing the future. You know how like when we hear, here's a good one. You know how like when we hear that the ETFs are buying, so really, the ETFs are buying, just in the US, are buying so much Bitcoin. There were days where they were buying 13 to 14 times more than were actually created. The numbers were probably realistically around 20x the amount that actually went on to exchanges or went back into the wild per se. One day. We just had news that the ETFs in the United States purchased hundreds of percent higher than was actually created. So what was created that didn't hit the market, the ETFs bought multiples of that by draining it from cryptocurrency exchanges and also probably through fear mongering. It's not that difficult to get people to think that the market's going to crash, get them to sell their coins, and then the price goes back up. We've seen this hundreds of times within this space. This is a little bit different because the amount of Bitcoin that there would be in the next 4 years is already gone. Someone by the name of Eli Nagar on Twitter, ELINAGARBRR, okay. He's a CEO of a Bitcoin mining pool, posted on Twitter with a bunch of numbers. And when I saw the numbers, I was like, oh, crap. I think normal people are screwed. And when I say normal people, it's people not within the cryptocurrency space, if you don't know my lingo. It's not that I think we are like extraordinary. It's just more of a people who aren't in our market. This guy went through the numbers, and I'll tell you them right now. Hold on. Got to scroll down. Give me a second. Hold on. Almost there. Nailed it. Every 4 years, 210,000 blocks on the blockchain, that's why it's called the blockchain, get mined. Every block has a certain amount of Bitcoin in it, and that gives Bitcoin to the people who are mining it. Blockchain. 210,000 blocks are going to be mined. So we're no longer talking about where we are. The time frame is now 2028 until 2032. Everyone got that? So we're already in a mess. Me, you, us, and MicroStrategy, the gigantic dragon buying up all of the Bitcoin. We're already in the situation where like there's not enough Bitcoin for 8 billion people. Gosh darn it, there's barely enough for us. Let's go to the future, shall we? 2028 to 2032. This is when the next halving takes place over the course of 4 years. 210,000 blocks on the blockchain will be mined. The amount of Bitcoin that will be mined per block is 1.56 Bitcoin. You got that? Halving, future. The next halving, The amount of Bitcoin that comes out is 1.56 multiplied by 210,000 blocks. That tells us that there are going to be 328,125 Bitcoin created over the course of a 4-year period. What stands out there to you? If you remember, the ETFs purchased over 1 million Bitcoin in 10 months, not 4 years. In less than 1 year, the ETFs purchased 3 times the amount of Bitcoin that's going to be produced in the future. Also as crazy, in the last 2 years, MicroStrategy currently is sitting around 500,000 Bitcoin. One company is near 500,000 Bitcoin. MicroStrategy currently owns and is holding more Bitcoin than will be mined in the entirety of the next halving. One company has already absorbed more Bitcoin than we are going to get during an entire halving. That's why when you get to 2032, that number becomes, was it 164,000? Somewhere around there, Bitcoin that actually gets created. Bitcoin becomes scarcer and scarcer every 4 years, and then subsequently the price also rises. There's probably, realistically, no actual way that normal people are going to be able to, let me try and choose my words lightly. I think that they're screwed. I feel like that's the only, like that's as nice as I can. There were many other words I could have thrown inside there. If MicroStrategy continues on this trajectory, I think by the end of this year, MicroStrategy is aiming for 1 million Bitcoin. The US is going to buy 1 million Bitcoin. Individual states are writing proposals and bills right now to begin buying Bitcoin in January. I think that by the end of next year, potentially the beginning of 2027, I think we're going to see all the Bitcoin dry up. I think it's going to happen in a few waves. I think when we hear about the states and the US and the countries that we've been hearing about buying up Bitcoin, we're going to see a massive strain on Bitcoin supply, very, very heavily. This will propel us over $500,000 on our way to $800,000, which is the number that we need in order for Bitcoin to completely surpass the market cap of gold. When we surpass the market cap of gold, it's going to scare the living bejesus out of billions of people on this planet who will come to the realization that they're too late. They're not late, but it's going to terrify them thinking Bitcoin's now stronger and more powerful, if you will, than gold. The fact that the country's buying hasn't already set people off in that direction. Sure, people are special. What I think happens from there is we see a huge rush of people into the market. And I think we breeze by $1 million into $1.1 million. What I think happens then is the whales begin to realize where this is all going even more. It's one thing to have charts and expectations of Bitcoin hitting 1 million, but to see it happen, if you didn't see the other video, this a couple days ago, we got a crazy price prediction. What I think will take place then is a level of manipulation we've never seen before, because these people will know that Bitcoin is going to $100 million per coin. I think we see a sell-off, but it won't be a sell-off. It'll be just enough of a price decrease to knock out all the people who entered in the last 2 to 3 years, and I mean a complete and utter terrifying wipeout, to make sure that they leave. We're going to start hearing in the news that MicroStrategy bought up another 30,000 Bitcoin, 45,000. They're trying to raise another $100 billion, and the new people who got into the market will think that they're crazy, all while governments are still accumulating. I think that's going to be one of the final washouts in the next 2 years. People will get into the market. They'll be scared out of it. Bitcoin's over $1 million per coin because of all this activity that we have. And basically from there, Bitcoin's ascent is kind of unstoppable. This is where I think everything is going. This is not a joke. I think that the wealth that will be created from this will be staggering. And it's going to go to a very small portion of people because it's very easy to not pay attention and it's very easy to wash people out of different markets. I think the next 30 to 40 years of this market will probably cause some of the greatest rifts, separations between the haves and the actual have-nothings. I just saw a documentary or video, whatever, what have you, where they were talking about how the average American doesn't even have $1,000 in their bank account. Does not have. The average is like a good 50, 60, 70% of Americans don't even have $1,000 at the end of the month to do whatever they want. And they were saying this is expected to increase as we see more homes being bought up by real estate and more stocks. Like the assets simply won't be there. This is what I was telling you all before. The idea of like fractionalized assets, I think are really going to take off. There will be some lucky people who realize what's going on, who see it, and they'll be able to buy around 1 million Satoshis. And I think that's going to be the real limit. I think 0.01, you know how we heard the number 0.28? Like, you know, you're part of the 1%. I think 0.28 will be wealthy, not rich. Like wealth is above rich for those of you who don't know. I think it's going to be considered absolutely wealthy if you happen to have that much Bitcoin. I think if you have 0.01 Bitcoin, you'll be rich. Like you will be worth $1 million plus. Like you'll have good money. You'll be able to provide and all that other stuff and essentially stop working. But I think it begins with this. MicroStrategy currently has more Bitcoin than will be created over the course of a 4-year period. And they're not done buying. They have no intention of stopping any of their buying. This is why I said before, and I'll reiterate, I think January is going to be crazy. I think February is going to be madness. And I think March is going to be the beginning of the euphoric phase for this market. There are multiple things that we heard are going to align, are going to begin, are going to start, and they all fall around January. This is actually terrifying because we're seeing all of it play out in real time. We're not reading a history book. We're not talking about something that might happen in 15 to 20 something years. This is all happening now. And it drives me absolutely up the wall when I've been telling people about crypto and Bitcoin for years, and I think I managed to convince, 3 people in almost 8-9 years. Everyone else didn't listen. And I know so many people who crypto, and I mean from the beginning, a couple $100 would have set them up with easy almost like really like $500,000, and they didn't listen. And where I see all of this going isn't a joke. I think the cryptocurrency space is going to be monstrously large. And I think people setting themselves up now are going to be like the actual winners of capitalism. This isn't a joke. Like this isn't, I try to be honest with you every single video, but you understand what I'm saying, right? If this all plays out as we think it's going to, and it looks like it's going to, we're talking about a multi-million-dollar Bitcoin by 2029. There's almost no Bitcoin left. That's why I told you it shocked me because I read it and I was going over it and I was like, They've essentially, like, all those coins are like basically gone, and they won't be sold. They won't be put back onto the market because everyone who's rich understands that they have to buy and they have to hold, because the price will only continue going up to the inflating US dollar, which is also expected to inflate heavily this year as well. We are in for some crazy economic times, my friend. And this is only the beginning. Like, that's the weirdest part. It's not like we're halfway done. It's like this is the beginning of all of this. Like in the year 2046, you'll be telling people about these moments. Yeah, I remember seeing Bitcoin was 10,000 on TV, and people won't understand what you're saying. Actually, also at that point, I wouldn't even tell anybody. I would just skip down the street because, yeah. Didn't mean to make the video so intense. I say that all the time, but it's true. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you've been taking care of yourself. Hope you've been remembering to drink water, to have vegetables, fruits. I don't know what people like to eat, but it has to be good for you. Take care of yourself. It's completely pointless for you to become rich if you don't take care of yourself. It's like a huge portion of what you should be doing. Yeah. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.